I watched Red Zone, a found footage movie found for free on Tubi. And Red Zone is a movie about a group of people from college. Well, not exactly. Okay, let me start over. It starts with a group of people from a college that are there with their professor, and they're talking about there are proof of aliens up here. They're somewhere in the forests in Canada, and they're talking about aliens. And then something happens to them. There's like a blurry UFO that pops out, and the professor and the cameraman follow it, and eventually this is all just like the prelude to the movie. This is like the opening stinger, right? And eventually he finds an alien after they enter an alien ship. Still haven't come to the main characters yet. And they, on the go, decide to dissect an alien, which looks like they just went out and bought some meat at the meat counter, like some chicken, right? The ship catches on fire, and then a whole group of men dressed in black with black masks on hunt them down and shoot them dead. And then we transfer over to a Spanish speaker, and this confused me because the opening is in English almost exclusively, with one character speaking a little bit of Spanish, but mostly, I think, to himself. But it switches over to Spanish, and there aren't hard-coded subtitles. So I sat there for maybe a good minute trying to figure out what was happening. Like, is this just... Are we just doing a thing where, like, they're background characters talking in Spanish, and then we transfer to the main characters in English, or... what am I working with here? And it turns out it's a Spanish language film, which is fine. Just be aware that you'll need subtitles on. I didn't know that I would need those. Usually those come hard-baked. But anyway, there's the guy who kind of opens up is trying to hire a camera crew to go with him, and I don't know when this is supposed to be set, because they make the camera look really old. They give it the look of something you'd imagine in, like, maybe the 70s, 60s, like those really old color cameras that were silent. I can't remember what they're called. I don't know a thing about cameras. But it looks like it should be filmed from the, like, 60s or 70s, but it's not. It seems like it's maybe supposed to be the 90s. I don't know, because in the 90s, you could just have a cassette holder, a cassette recorder in your hand, or a personal little camera. They had those, especially toward the end of the 90s. They were, not cheap, but they were there. There were a lot of options. So I still cannot figure out what era this was supposed to be set during. Cannot figure it out. So he hires this cameraman and his sound guy to come and film with him in the forest in Vancouver. Oh wait, no, is it Montreal? Let me check my notes. Quebec. They're in Quebec. So this guy is being evasive, doesn't tell them a whole lot about why they're going there. Once they get there, they find out it's about aliens, and he says they need to find an alien graveyard. And it starts to get wild. Like, for a while, it's just them walking around, but eventually they start coming across what he says are landing sites for UFOs. And they stop there and they take a look, and it continues to grow, and he continues to expound, and pretty soon you find out that there are apparently all these portals around the world that let you transfer between different planes of existence, and that aliens aren't coming necessarily on the way we would expect them to come from outer space, but they come through these dimensional portals that exist and that they have access to, and one of those portals is beneath Canada. And so that's why they came to this forest. See, this movie, I'm telling you, it's a little... There's a lot of stuff here. They end up running across a trailer that's all shot up. And so eventually they see more UFOs. And the second guy, and the sound guy goes missing. And when the sound guy goes missing, they eventually find him, and he's covered in fake spider webs and being really weird. He keeps holding his arm, and turns out he's been implanted with a microchip. And then the dude who brought them all there says he's a member of this group of these men in black wearing black masks. He used to be a member of them, and he was the only one that survived his group going there because the rest were killed by aliens, but he managed to find an entrance to the portal, and so that's how he survived, and he ended up coming out somewhere else and had a different identity and stuff. This all happens, right? This all happens. I'm being totally serious. And by the way, don't forget there are aliens in this movie too. So the aliens in this movie just seem to be kind of, gray alien masks with black jumpsuits. We don't get a whole lot about them, but we do get that they have graveyards around here for some reason, and that they kill people. That's about all we get. I don't even remember how this movie ended. Spoiler, not going to be recommending it really. Let's see here. Promise I'm not closing my eyes. I swear. What tracking issues? I don't know what you're talking about. How does this even end? Okay. They end up getting transported to another planet, and this planet is purple. They do it to escape the Men in Black, and they manage to escape the Men in Black, but then eventually they run into aliens, and the aliens kill them, not the Men in Black. And that's the movie. That's how it ends. You don't really get any answers, nothing firm or clear, nothing like that. So I gave this a 1 out of 5. I feel like there's a lot of stuff this movie could have done, especially with kind of the scope they were going for. And unfortunately, it just didn't achieve any of it. It's boring, it's confusing, it's too full of lore. Sometimes leaving mystery is better, and I think he would have probably done a lot better with this movie had he just left everything a mystery. But too much of it was revealed. So there was no mystery left, and it's just watching people in rubber suits and black clothes shoot at each other with generic sci-fi laser beam sounds, Not exactly It's not exactly peak content. But hey, if you're in the mood for especially a foreign language film, if you're looking for a Spanish horror film to watch, this is one to do. Absolutely is. I would recommend Rec over this, but I'd recommend Rec over almost anything. Yeah. So 1 out of 5.